Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Loguercio, and I'm the Brookhaven Town Councilman, and I represent this area. And we're here today to honor a man who honored our country every day of his life. And I'm honored to be joined today by some special people. I have Assemblyman Joe DeStefano, Legislator Rudy Sunderman. I just got off the phone with Supervisor Ed Romaine. He's on his way here. We have John Field and the Feel Good Foundation. We have 9/11 responders, remembered park board members, Patriot Guard riders, thank you, and also the Bellport Fire Department who did the flag detail for us today. Today we're here to honor a gentleman, Mark W. Gajewski. Mark was born in 1959, and he had the nickname Ski. He grew up outside Detroit, Michigan, with his adopted family. He joined the United States Marine Corps when he graduated high school. He met his wife, Debbie, who's right there with us today, and was married for 32 years. God bless. God bless. He had 2 children, Crystal and Sean, also here today, and his granddaughter, Mia. Mark was an iron worker and an operator engineer. On 9/11, he responded to the scene, not as a first responder in the sense that many of us know, but as a humble blue-collar worker, because he never, ever forgot his allegiance to our country. With him, he brought a 40-foot tractor trailer and all his tools down to Ground Zero. During Hurricane Katrina, he also responded. He packed his trailer again, and he went to New Orleans, and he assisted down there with that recovery effort. Mark was a person who never failed to help anyone in need. I personally did not know the man, but I feel like I did from meeting his family, and I'm honored to be here today. He's a proud member of the biker community. You can see all his brothers and sisters here today as well. He organized and participated in cross-country bike runs for 9/11 victims, once again, never forgetting. He raised funds, which he donated to various children's activities and charities. Mark passed away on December 17, 2011, from stage 4 lung cancer due to his 9/11 recovery efforts. His family's here today, along with all of us, to help to keep his great legacy alive. Today, very honored as a representative of the town of Brookhaven to dedicate a portion of Martha Avenue to Mark in his honor. Excuse me. He was a true American hero, Mark. And today, we dedicate this day, August 17th, 2019, as Mark J. Gajewski Day in the town of Brookhaven. You know, just a personal note, as a first responder myself, along with Joe DeStefano, Medford Fire Department, Rudy Sunderman, and Chief over Mastic Fire Department, and all the other firefighters that are here, you know, we understand and we appreciate not only the sacrifice that Mark made, but also his family. So we thank his family, we thank you all for sharing Mark with us and the town of Brookhaven and the entire country. So thank you to all of you for allowing him to do that. So I want to introduce a couple of guests. Mark's son, Sean, his daughter, Crystal, his wife, Debbie, please, and his granddaughter, Mia, would you please join us up here? Sean, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, please.
Watch the voice.
So I'm a little bit taller than Councilman. So
I have that problem there, though.
I'll try to be quick, but I want to start off with the most important part, obviously, the thank yous. First, we would like to thank Councilman Michael Loguercio. We would like to thank Miss Victoria Malloy, Mr. and Mrs. John Kennedy, of course, Mr. John Field, the 9/11 responders, remembered park board members, and everyone that contributed to that, the North Patchogue and Bellport Fire Departments, South Country Ambulance, all of the officers at the 5th Precinct, the Department of Highway, all of the Patriot Guard riders, and of course, everyone here, our friends, our family, and our neighbors. We'd also, lastly, like to thank Mr. Romaine. I know he has not here, but we would like to give him thanks and we appreciate all the efforts. So we greatly appreciate all of the effort that each of you and everybody here has done to make this dedication happen. No words can accurately express the love, appreciation, and the admiration that my family and I have for each one of you that are here today. All you have done and you continue to do outstanding work for the families affected by the tragic events of 9/11. As you know, it's been almost 18 years since that day. At that time, I was obviously just a little boy. I was only 15 years old, and to be honest, I had no idea what was going on or what effect it would have on our family or the world in general. The one thing that I remember is that after it happened, my dad wasn't around much for almost the entire school year. It was really the first time in my life that him and actually my mom had ever missed anything for the most part. They were always at everything. When I was young, I really didn't give the event the attention that it deserved, and it wasn't until a few years later, when I was about 20 years old, that I started to realize what those 4 planes really meant to everyone and how it was affecting the people in my life and everybody in the United States and elsewhere. I was in college at that time, and I was working for my dad a few days a week. While I was with him, I started to notice a couple things were changing. His health was starting to deteriorate. He wasn't the invincible man that we all thought that he was anymore. Things like the numerous doctor visits, taking a lot more breaks to catch his breath, taking longer to get off the ground when we were working, and of course his various mood swings, although I think I contributed to those mood swings a lot more than the health factors did. I remember that he was being monitored by Stony Brook Hospital, and he started being diagnosed with all these strange diseases and things that I had no idea what any of them actually meant. I just assumed that they would give him some medicine and he would be fine. The time, although as that was going on, that time working with my dad also gave me the opportunity to find out who he really was as a person. You don't really, when you're growing up, you don't really spend that much time talking to your dad, but when I was working with him and I was an adult at that time, I really got the opportunity to see who he was. On some of those trips from home, while we're sitting usually in traffic on the LIE, we would occasionally discuss what happened while he was working on the pile. And as you all know, my dad wasn't really a crier, except the times that I would see his eyes water over or gloss over was anytime he would start talking about 9/11 and what was going on down there. Every one of the conversations usually centered on what happened down there. And it was those conversations where I learned about the things that he did on the pile that make me honestly proud to call him my father. Councilman already went through a bunch of the things that he did when he was down there, but one of the things that I thought that stood out to me was he took a leave of absence from Local 30 and actually started working at Local 15 in order to be down there all the way from the day after it happened until about March of the following year, which was pretty much the whole school year for me. Throughout those years after 9/11, and all while he was dealing with those issues, my dad continued to do the rides, collecting the toys, and doing pretty much anything that he could in order to help everyone out. Now, my dad wasn't a congressman, he wasn't a politician, but he did whatever he could in the ways that he was able to do it. Like I said before, when you're a kid, you really don't appreciate that stuff, but there isn't a day that goes by now that I don't think about it. And that's honestly something that I think about often. I can only hope that I impact the lives of as many people as he did years after my time finally comes. I hope, 8 years after my time comes, there's as many people here for me. Finally, I want to give a special thank you to, obviously, my sister, Crystal. We don't always agree on everything, but one thing I can't deny is that you have Dad's heart. You've done so many things to keep Dad's legacy alive, and I don't always express my appreciation of it, but I really do appreciate it. I do love you. So, again, thank you all for coming to the road dedication, and please enjoy the coffee and the donuts, and I'll hand it back over to Councilman Loguercio. Sorry.
Sean, Crystal, I'm sure your dad's very proud of both of you. Ladies and gentlemen, Assemblyman Joe DiStefano.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. I want to take a moment to thank our Congress for passing the Zeroga bill, which will make sure for the next 90 years, I believe it is, that people who were lost at 9/11 will be protected, their families will be protected financially, and any other needs that they may have during the next whatever years they have left in this earth. Unfortunately, things like this are becoming far too often. The other day we had a dedication of the exit 67 overpass of the Long Island Expressway for Staff Sergeant Bonacasa, who passed away in Afghanistan during the war. I find the 9/11 and the Afghanistan situation pretty similar when you think about it, because both of those men died on behalf of fighting for their country and protecting our freedoms. Unfortunately, we're going to see this a lot more going forward. I'm going to read you the proclamation because I know that the Councilman Loguercio had already done that, and Sean had done some too, but this really tells you the spirit of Mark. Whereas Mark Gajewski was considered a true American hero by all who came in contact with him. He was born in 1959, and most people called him Ski. He was the kind of person who towered above everybody else. Now, we got all of that, but the community, he was good in his community. He did a lot of things for his community. And those are the things that we need to remember. As us who serve our communities, we need to protect the people who protect us. And for that, I am very grateful. And I thank the Councilman for allowing me to be part of this day. And I look forward to seeing you guys, but not in the spirit of what we're doing today. I want to see you on the field, outside. Thank you for our servicemen and women. Thank you for our fire departments and our first responders. Without the people that serve our community, we would be nothing. So I do appreciate everybody who helps out in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Legislator. Rudy Sunderman. I lost it there for a second, Rudy. Sorry.
No problem. I always like to make it brief and quick. But first, I want to thank you and thank your father for his service, not only to the military, but for his help on 9/11. You know, but I like to say something very, very important. You know, that sign that we're going to see displayed momentarily, I think day in and day out, when our residents pass this block, or even somebody that just drives by to visit a family member, whether it's your family or somebody else's family, is going to see that sign and be able to look up who that gentleman is, Mark, your dad, or your husband, and they're going to be able to see what he accomplished in life. And that, to me, is going to be proud. Although he may not be here today, but you'll know day in and day out, that sign's going to be there forever. And that's going to be something that's going to live on for a legacy. So I want you to know that. That, to me, is going to be an important piece that you're going to treasure for the rest of your life. So again, thank you for your dad's service. Thank you for everyone here today for being here to show your support for your family and for your dad's legacy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is John Field from the Feel Good Foundation.
I should see her for the coffee. Seriously?
Wow. So caught off guard.
Give me a second. All right, I'm good. 9 years ago, the Feel Good Foundation, we served the food after the Mark's funeral. And I've been to about 182, 183 funerals now. Paid for about 12 of them. I don't remember all of them, but that one stood out because the amount of people that attended, the amount of love and compassion in that room for Mark was overwhelming. You know, in conversation, we talked to each other. Hey, remember that time when Mark did a wheelie with his motorcycle? Remember that time when Mark ate 30 pieces of chicken? That's how we keep his memory alive. But the sign behind me, that's tangible. That's how we keep his legacy alive. See, there's a difference between a memory and a legacy. The memory is just conversations and reminiscing. The legacy is, it's bestowed in Crystal and Sean. Crystal's now part of the 9/11 Park. Crystal busts her butt to ensure that we put men and women, uniform and non-uniform, on our wall every year who suffered the same fate as Mark. You know, my job is not only to help get legislation passed and to honor people, but it's also I'm responsible for putting people in the program. Where are you, Mike Shiaba? Where are you, Mike? There you are. You want to end up like Mark? No, right? So Mike himself is sick. One day there'll be a street sign for Mike if he doesn't get his together. You guys asked me to speak, so. So I'm telling you now, starting Monday, I'm going to help you get into the program so you can get help before it's not too late, like it was for Mark. So Mark wasn't the first person to die, nor will he be the last person to die from a 9/11 related illness. We can get all the legislation we want passed. We can beat up Congress and the Senate. We can point fingers at each other. But everybody here has to be proactive. If you were there, or know somebody that was there, Mark would tell you the same thing I'm telling you. Get your ass in the program.
Thank you, John. Our final speaker for this morning will be a very dear friend of Mark's and a longtime friend of mine, Fingers from WBAB Radio.
I know him. Hello. I didn't expect to speak, but I'm honored to be here. A lot of times I consider myself Ski's best friend. But I know Michael is his best friend. Tommy is his best friend. Rick. I could go on with a list of people that Ski touched. And we had more fun on the road than probably is allowed. We went to Sturgis, we went to Daytona, and it was always about fun. But Ski was the kind of guy that stood out, not just because of his height and his gorgeous blue eyes, but we would be in the middle of I'll give you an example. We were in Daytona at a Harley-Davidson store, huge Harley-Davidson store, and it's bike week, so it's packed. And there's a woman and a man and their child who's in a stroller. And they're looking at clothes and stuff, and the little kid is trying to reach out of his stroller to a little toy motorcycle. So Ski bends down on his knee, and he's talking to the kid, and all of a sudden Mom and Dad turn around and go, "Who's this biker talking to my kid?" And Ski said, "Ask your mama if it's okay if you can have that." And they looked, and they didn't know what to do. And Ski just took $20 out of his pocket, grabbed the toy, and handed it to Mom and Dad and said, "Here, make sure he gets that." And then he just disappears. You know, he doesn't want glory. He didn't even want to thank you. He just wanted to feel alive. And I know Mike and several of us feel alive every day because this is Ski right here. We carry his ashes with us all the time. Thanks to Crystal and the family for giving us these. But all I can say is, if you want to remember Ski and perpetuate his legacy outside of putting up signs, just do a simple act of kindness every chance you get. Thanks.
Thank you, Fingers. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason why we're all here today, if you would all please just gather a little forward.
Didn't they tell you how to do knocks when you were a fireman?
We didn't practice this part.
Could I ask you to stand right over here?
I had no idea.
Ready? 5, 4,
3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our ceremony for this morning. Thank you so much for being here, for the family, and for Mark. Everyone have a safe trip home. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.